The FTC has finally dropped the case against Microsoft for the purchase of Activision Blizzard. So we talked for the first time in a while a couple of weeks ago about this case. If you remember back when this whole thing was going on, I think around 2022 or whatever, it was a major thing everybody was talking about. I was live streaming stuff, going through all of the documents, trying to make understandings of to everything that was happening with this case. And at the end of the day, Xbox and Microsoft came out. They were able to get ABK, close the deal. It's been closed now for a while, but believe it or not, this thing has still been going on. And now it is officially over, as the FTC has actually dropped the case here against Microsoft for this purchase. We all know what all of the arguments around this case were. They thought that they were going to use this to try to foreclose other companies like PlayStation. PlayStation fought really hard against this. Jim Ryan was at the helm of PlayStation at that point, and the arguments he was putting out there clearly were nothing that Xbox was really trying to do. The biggest argument that actually had weight in this was cloud gaming, and Xbox had to make a bunch of adjustments and concessions for cloud gaming, as we do see here Ubisoft getting licenses for where the games can go. You're seeing the integration with NVIDIA GeForce now, and you're also seeing a lot of games from Xbox, and I think the majority of their catalog are going to go this way, landing on their direct console competitor, the PlayStation 5. But it all could be stemming a lot from the pushback they did receive here from the FTC in order to kind of secure their place in the future in case, hey, they might want to go out there and make more acquisitions and try to do it with minimal pushback from the FTC. But we have this here. The FTC drops the case against Microsoft's purchase of Activision Blizzard, and specifically, this is what they say. The commission has determined that the public interest is best served by dismissing the administrative litigation in this case. Accordingly, it is hereby ordered that the complaint in this matter be, and it hereby is, dismissed. And then we also had the Microsoft president, Brad Smith, as soon as this came out, acknowledging it, I would say celebrating that this has happened, saying, "Today's decision is a victory for players across the country and for common sense in Washington, D.C. We are grateful to the FTC for today's announcement." So they acknowledge here that they don't have to fight this anymore. And I mean, the reality is, I think a lot that Xbox has been doing goes a long way for this thing to now officially be dropped and over. Clearly, they've made it obvious that they aren't out there trying to close down the PlayStation console, trying to close down PlayStation as they're putting some of their biggest games onto the PS5. The other thing that was very interesting when it was basically around the same time. It was very close timing as to when the FTC dropped the case, and then we got the big announcement here for people who are fans of Space Marine. Now, for Warhammer 40K Space Marine, the remaster is coming out, and it is not coming out, at least as of right now, on the PlayStation 5. This is a Xbox console exclusive, also coming to PC, and it is landing day one into Xbox Game Pass. Now, does this mean that it will never come to PlayStation 5? Not sure, but as of right now, it has not been announced, so you can take it as there is exclusivity involved in this, that it is going to miss the PlayStation 5 console. But the timing of this is quite interesting, simply because of the fact that I think a lot of the moves that are being made here from Xbox have to do with, one, it makes no sense to cut out a large consumer base of people who already purchase games from ABK, which are people on PlayStation. They have to make back the almost $70 billion that they have spent on this deal. And then the other major factor that I think a lot of people have forgotten over the last 2 years or so has been the FTC, and has been the pushback from these regulatory bodies that has basically forced them to make sure that they are looking at everything here when they're releasing games, so they don't have any further pushback. And if they do want to go out and make acquisitions in the future, they can have that example as to showing that, hey, they're not there to try to become a monopoly and try to hurt other companies in this industry, because they are giving the games over to them. I find it very interesting, though, that we have this announcement so close. I tweeted this out saying, what's interesting about the Space Marine Xbox exclusivity is that the announcement comes right as the FTC officially drops the ABK case. Got a bunch of responses here. Got Ham Solo here saying it's going to be interesting to see if there's any shift in the strategy. And that is the question that I think a lot of people do have right now is, was a lot of what is going on simply because this FTC case was still going on? And will we see another shift in strategy? Not going back to full Xbox exclusivity with first party games or anything like that, but can they now be less lenient with the games that they do bring over? My first thought is nothing's going to change. They're going to actually go even more full throttle with the current direction that they are going. And it is because they already now have the data analytics, the numbers of putting games on PlayStation 5 and how much money that brings in because they become top sellers on the PlayStation list of games. And to port these games over to PS5, I'm guessing at this, but I would assume that I'm pretty much correct, is that it can't be very resource intensive to do this. They're both running very similar under the hood AMD chips, the x86 architecture. They're both basically just PCs. So getting it ported over to the PlayStation 5 can't be that resource intensive. And it's basically just money bags coming in there in terms of their return on the investment by doing that. So from the business perspective, I doubt that they would change course. But again, interesting that this announcement does happen here. And Xbox has had a very good relationship with Sega. Maybe this is just kind of more of what we could potentially expect to see with Sega going forward. Is there more deals? Is there more partnership in the works? Because this is a game here that is being published by Sega. Go down here and says, are you thinking Xbox will stop putting games on PS5? I respond, say, no, I don't think so. They're top sellers on PlayStation. Microsoft, after the FTC dropped the case, going back to exclusivity stuff, this person says, I doubt it is exclusive at all. It's probably a marketing deal for a week. And it could be that. I think that could be the case. We don't 100% know here as to exactly what it is. Person says, I'm overreacting, and I'm literally just theorizing here as to potentially what is going on, because this is a completely different strategy that we have seen over the last year or so. This person says, I don't think this is any kind of significant exclusivity. If any at all, it's probably just marketing rights or something similar. Xbox has been privately working with Sega to have games come directly to Game Pass. I'm expecting in time for them to buy Sega. No, man, it means nothing. At most, Space Marine 4K is a timed exclusive. PlayStation fan base is hungry for games, and Microsoft is counting that money from their new customers. I fully agree with that. And they still got about 30 games to bring over there. The person says, my insider, Junebug Rawlings, told me that Xbox is now going to buy PlayStation. And I'm one of the rare of opinions here that Microsoft is about to pull the biggest bait and switch in gaming history at just the right time, shut the faucet off and say all of our past, present, and future games are always on Game Pass. $250 a year is 3 games. Welcome to the next generation of gaming. I mean, so there's a lot that could be going on simply because of this interesting announcement. Yes, it is just one game. And yes, this deal could have been in the works for a while, but for them to come out here, and if this is the case going forward, to negotiate some sort of exclusivity with Game Pass and with the Xbox console, I mean, that is the big one, completely different from what we've seen over the last year or two. And Xbox has a track record of switching their strategy on a dime. They could be switching their strategy again now that this has dropped. Maybe they go back to the drawing board and they say, we're going to put stuff on PlayStation 5. It's not going to be everything, and it's going to be very select titles that we know will sell a lot, because as of right now, it does seem like almost everything is on the way. The other side of the coin is they are also potentially looking at how can they prop Game Pass up more. And maybe they're thinking about now with the FTC dropping the case, they can negotiate more to get exclusivity because they want to only grow Game Pass, even though they know people still have to go buy the games full price on PS5. If they can't even access it on PS5, that may push more people over to Game Pass. As my opinion stays the same here, I'm not changing my thoughts on exclusivity. It's only good for the businesses. It's not good for the gamers. And we've seen exclusivity play itself out. It's completely fine on Xbox that games are not exclusive to the console. Your experience is still great. And we all know that. People will still argue the console warrior stuff, but the reality is you have Game Pass and you have a phenomenal experience there, even with games on PS5. But I'm going to end the video there. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.